Election rigging versus campaigning. This is about Tulsi Gabbard versus the Kamala bot. If you've been paying attention to Kamala Harris and how she answers questions, she is absolutely well programmed to never, ever dig into actually answering the question or actually ever talking substance. It's impressive, to be fair. You can ask Kamala Harris, what's your opinion on vegetarianism? Is it healthy? Well, I think it's very, very important to talk about our farmers and our lawyers and our doctors. And in fact, I've spent a lot of time as a prosecutor defending the rights of parents. Wait, no, prosecuting parents. That's right. I prosecute parents. I'm because she's joyful. But it's apparently Tulsi Gabbard who's out repeating talking points like this. Remember failed pseudo Republican Jeff Flake? Really good looking guy, great abs, great chest. In fact, he took a break from being a congressman for a little while. He went on a reality TV show. Remember that? One of the ones on the island? He wrote this: I'm voting for Kamala Harris, not in spite of being a conservative, but because I'm a conservative. Conservatives believe in the rule of law. Sheriff Joe Arpaio wrote, an actual sheriff. Your son Austin and his wife killed 23 dogs, then sued me in the sheriff's office for prosecuting them. You tried to destroy me and my detectives. You don't believe in the rule of law. It should not be that easy. So why is it that people are panicking this way? We'll talk about this and do this comparison between the Kamala bot and Tulsi Gabbard. Side by side, Kamala does not look good in a side-by-side analysis. In a side-by-side analysis of the American medical system versus healthcare, we don't look very good. The American medical system has doctors walking in to see you with iPads in hand, punching away at little entry forms, and in the background, the software is looking for what pills they can push upon you. That is, if you have insurance. If you have insurance, you're in Medicare or Medicaid, it's mining your insurance databases to see what pill could we get paid to give you today so we can build up profits for the pharmaceutical industry that's helping us. Or what surgery do you need? That's what those systems do. You'll notice this. If you go to a doctor's office that doesn't take insurance, it's a completely different experience. I just did this yesterday. They don't take insurance because of what they do. I talked to an award-winning, pretty world-famous doc for about 45 minutes. He had all sorts of questions about my health, my mental health, my relationships, my weightlifting, my CrossFit, my running, what are my goals? And we talked as men about our individual goals. He left that knowing the whole patient, and he'll come back with a recommendation. If we decide to do business together, you'll probably meet him. I'll probably have him on the show. Likewise with Renew Healthcare. Renew.Healthcare in Mexico is in the business of providing ethically gathered stem cells to help people avoid surgery, recover from surgery. They have been absolutely seeing great results, great reports from patients in helping people recover from neurological damage, even things like traumatic brain injuries. One of their sweet spots is the very common situation of people having lower lumbar problems that can lead to numbness and buzzing in the limbs. Sometimes that's called neuropathy. Sometimes it limits movement. And again, up here in the medical system, the pharma system, they've got the pills for you. But at Renew.Healthcare in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, they have the ethically gathered stem cells from placentas and umbilical cords, up to 42 million at a time. They destroy inflammation in your body, and then they go about rebuilding tissue, cartilage, even muscle. So if you're facing surgery, you might not need to get cut open. Go to renew.healthcare. That's RENUE.healthcare, because in a side-by-side analysis, sadly, the American system doesn't hold up. There's election data, particularly on early voting, that shows that President Trump is going to have a pretty commanding lead in some very, very important statistics. We've seen Miami-Dade flip Republican for the first time in about 20 years based upon early voting in some of the key states. We've seen President Trump outperform the Democrats in early voting. This has never happened. Now, I have to say, I am suspect of this because early voting numbers like this, if you wanted to say rig an election or cheat, and YouTube censors, I'm saying if you wanted to, you'd want to know what you have to reach in terms of results. So you'd want to know how many ballots you'd need to find or produce. I'm just saying if you wanted to do that. So there's a bit of panic, and it's showing by how often they're putting Kamala Harris on TV in situations she can't win. She couldn't win the Anderson Cooper town hall because she had to talk like a human being for a little while. She can't win, and you end up in this doom cycle. We got to get the candidate out more. But wait a minute. Every time we put the candidate out in front of people, we end up getting lower and lower in the polls. But she's got to go fight. I know. Get Tim Walz's wife to do it. Did you see this? She's bizarre. They pulled her from an event in Maine, saw the Democrat territory because of some behaviors on stage. Bizarre behaviors. And yet it's Tulsi Gabbard who has people accusing her of using Trump talking points.
We have people who are coming together as we should, as Charlie said, around the most important and fundamentally American values and principles, things that we all share in common, recognizing as President Trump has. I had a reporter who talked to me and they're like, oh, you're going and doing all these events for Trump and you're speaking at all these town halls. They must give you some pretty tight talking points to use, where I said, no, they never have. They've never given me talking points. They never said, Tulsi, you're not allowed to say this and don't talk about that. Not once. This reporter was shocked. They're like, are you kidding me? I said, no, not at all, because President Trump isn't afraid of someone who might disagree with him on something. He knows why I've endorsed him. We've had these conversations. I talk about the issues that are most important to me and why I believe his presidency, his next presidency, is our best hope to have a future in this country that is free and secure and peaceful and prosperous.
And there used to be a time where you could have alignments like this, where Tulsi Gabbard could do an analysis. Tulsi's a Democrat, and she's still there, right there on abortion, and maybe God will bring her around on this. And she can look at the international situation, us funding both sides of the war in Israel, us creating this money pot for Ukraine that is just unending, us getting to the precipice now of war in the Middle East by putting troops into Israel, troops who will be fired upon by missiles you bought. So you can have this analysis. Which party, which person is going to give us the best chance at survival as a nation? That's not what the Democrats want. They are sloganeers. Everything is a slogan. Hate has no home here. Trans women are women. Believe all women, except, well, when they say that's a dude in the shower. No, that's not. That's a trans woman. This is the host of a Kamala Harris town hall event. What is a town hall? You know, that's where the citizens show up and the regular folks, and they raise their hand and they get to walk up and have a discussion back and forth with one of the governing authorities. Like in the olden days where governing authorities didn't have handlers, they didn't have notes. They'd just sit down and talk with you about their area of expertise, and they actually knew what they were talking about. They could actually get into some detail because they were actually from those professions. Not anymore. They're all sloganeers. So what's a town hall under Kamala Harris and the people who run her? Well, let's look.
You're not, unfortunately. We have some predetermined questions, and hopefully I'll be able to ask some of the questions that might be in your head. I hope so.
The question from the audience was, are we going to get to ask questions? No. No, this thing is scripted. And Maria Shriver's not going to ask the questions that are in my head. Probably not in your head, because they've been agreed upon by the campaign. They've been agreed upon because of situations like this. This is Kamala Harris with Anderson Cooper, who asks her a pretty simple question. It's stock. This is a stock question for all candidates. Let's talk about some mistakes you've made.
Is there something you can point to in your life, political life, or in your life in the last 4 years that you think is a mistake that you have learned from?
I mean, I've made many mistakes, and they range from, if you've ever parented a child, you make lots of mistakes too.
She's never parented a child. Not once. When she hooked up with Doug Emhoff, who apparently impregnates nannies and backhands women with her, I guess it was a front-hand slap. Those people were 15 and 20, one an adult, one just about an adult.
In my role as vice president, I mean, I've probably worked very hard at making sure that I am well versed on issues, and I think that is very important. It's a mistake not to be well versed on an issue and feel compelled to answer a question.
There's so many ways to read this. I think it's a mistake to feel compelled to answer a question. That's the honest interpretation. Then there's this. I'm well versed on issues so I can be prepared to answer the question like a mistake I've made. She could have said something so simple, so easy. Sometimes I don't give the people on my staff enough public credit. Sometimes I don't do that. And we get so busy, and my staff doesn't want the public credit. They've made clear to me they're not in it for the credit. You know, Anderson, they're in it for the American people. They're in it for the folks here. And I guess I could mention some names, but it would just embarrass them. So I struggle with that. I guess I also sometimes, you know, and this is a little personal, Anderson. I've worked so hard. Sometimes my time with Doug has suffered. Yeah. Sometimes, and you know, marriages are hard. We work hard at ours. I mean, I guess that's a bit of a mistake, but the stakes are so high. We have literal Hitler. He's literally the reincarnation of Adolf Hitler. And it would be a mistake to not focus on that, Anderson.